why is anger out there? Why do we have that built into our operating system as humans? Well, a lot of it's built off of survival, right? If you had an animal charging you, you get angry so you can fight back. If you had a situation where your family might be injured, part of a group, you get angry to protect your family, to protect your people. Hey everyone, welcome to Start Your Week. Great, start your week with the coach. I am your host, certified high performance coach, Sean Butner. Now, today we're talking about how to handle your inner ogre, right? There are things that make us angry all the time, and it's the folks that are able to manage that anger effectively, to channel it productively, that end up being successful over time, and just being the people that we like to be around. So, if you've ever had that time when you walked in the bathroom and you noticed that the cap on the toothpaste was missing and it sets you off. You feel the anger well up in you, or you're in a meeting at work and someone slights you and you want to go and just beat them up because you're so angry that they embarrassed you in front of the boss or made you look not so good in front of a customer or something like that. These are the things where this inner ogre can come up. And I'm talking about this because I was interacting with someone earlier this week who asked me, like, hey, Sean, like, how do you effectively manage anger? And I was thinking about it and asking him some questions to get some more context. And I thought I'd do this video on it. So I think the first thing to understand is, like, why do people generally get angry, right? Especially men, like we... in society at large, at a very general level, this isn't everyone, right? But we tend to have anger and maybe happiness as our emotional repertoire, and not a lot more of the nuanced things, or, we use it to cover up other feelings. But really what it comes down to is, why is anger out there? Why do we have that built into our operating system as humans? Well, a lot of it's built off of survival, right? If you had an animal charging you, you get angry so you can fight back. If you had a situation where your family might be injured, part of a group, you get angry to protect your family, to protect your people, So there's an evolutionary reason that this is helpful. And really, and I'll get back to this, but anger is usually a call to action, right? The thing is as we've moved into, a more modern world and society, that sometimes those cues from our survival days are not appropriate for what we do now. Like in the office, like if someone, takes the last bagel before you can get it, and then you end up screaming at the top of your lungs at them, that's not a really productive thing. It's not really good for the team. It's not good for your career. It's not good for that person that you're yelling at either, right? So, so that's where, this survival thing can get out of context and cause problems in our lives. Second thing, we tend to get angry when we feel out of control of what's happening to us, or fear, right? Again, kind of going back to the survival thing, but, this ability to want to control is why people sometimes scream at someone, right? It's trying to get some power and control back through intimidation. So that's part of it. Or it's a fear of being hurt. It's a fear of being vulnerable. It's a fear of not being heard or not being respected. So there's a lot of fears that can go into it too. And so if you've ever had that situation where you've gotten angry at something little, is it a survival thing? Is it something you're trying to control, like the kids cleaning up the dang toys after they're done and they never do it, and you're just like, come on, guys. Try to think through maybe why that's happening. The third thing is it's modeled behavior, right? Sometimes if you have parents that their only emotion is anger, and they use that to solve things, you start to see the tool that you have, the anger hammer. In every situation is a nail, right? So, someone cuts you off, you scream at them. Someone makes fun of you, you scream at them. Someone messes up your coffee order at a coffee shop, you scream at them, and it's not healthy. It generally is not good in building relationships. So a lot of your success is tied into like being able to build relationships. Anger is not really a good resource, and a lot of times at relationship building. Protecting people, you can maybe get some cool like relationships. People like, oh, I trust you, you protect me. Outside of that, though, the person on the receiving end is not going to like you, and it might cause you issues later. But so if you have that behavior modeled, or you don't have someone that can model the full range of human emotion, love, vulnerability, being scared, being, happy and ecstatic, if you don't have that menu of emotions to choose from because the people around you growing up or the people around you now only have this one emotion, that's something that can be hard to overcome, but it's also something worth being aware of. And finally, exhaustion. If people being hangry, if you've ever heard that phrase, people could be really irritable when they don't get enough sleep. I know that tends to be where my inner ogre comes out myself as a coach. I'm not immune to feeling these feelings, or just low energy in general. If you've been pushing and going for a while and you just feel exhausted and you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, some irritability or anger could come up there. So that's not a comprehensive list, but kind of the biggest factors that I see when people get angry in my coaching practice. So how do we manage that inner ogre, right? How do we, if we can recognize that welling up, what can we do to make sure that it's mitigated or it's not hurting us in our ability to influence, to be productive, to move our lives forward, to go out and be a good human being, right? To be our best selves. So the first thing I'm going to mention was popularized by one of my mentors, Brendan Bouchard, which is to take care of your meds. And what are meds? It's not pills or anything. It's meditation, exercise, diet, and sleep. So meditation is a really powerful tool for you to calm down, to get in that centered space to where you're not so reactive to the world, right? So if you don't have a meditation practice, I encourage you to pick one. There's so many online. In high performance, I teach the release meditation, and I'll do a video later this week and put it below on the blog for you guys to do, so you can walk through this release meditation because it's so powerful. And it's not anything tied to religion too. You can use your favorite mantra, but I'll get into that on the meditation. But it's a good way to just release what's happening on in the day, to get into that quiet, calm, buoyant energy that we sometimes need to interact with people. So meditation is good. Exercise, sometimes if we're not channeling our physical energy into working out, into walking, into lifting, into that kind of stuff, it gets channeled through anger and through your voice and yelling. So if you can whittle away that energy through movement and exercise, that can help you, avoid having that inner ogre come out unexpectedly, right? And we don't want it to be unexpected. We want anger should be used when it's appropriate. When it's not appropriate, it shouldn't rule our lives. So that's the catchphrase for today. So diet, if we're eating poorly, right, and we're not doing things that are helping our energy. So if you eat a lot of sugar in your diet and you have the energy climb and the crash, right? That crash zone is where people tend to be hangry, where they tend to lash out because they're tired. And so having a more nutritious diet or a more balanced diet where you don't have the ups and downs of like the sugar crashes or caffeine crashes can really help. And then sleep, if you're not, most people, and when I say most people, it's like 99.9% of people on planet Earth need, 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. And so if you're only getting 3, I encourage you, ask your family members if they think you're grumpy or not. And you might be surprised, right? Because the people that I've met in corporate America that are like, oh, I get by in 3 hours of sleep are the grumpiest, most irritable people that I have encountered. But they think they're good. So, but anyways, it's really important to try to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep, have it scheduled, have your routines to wind down so you have good sleep hygiene, have your wake up, morning rituals, and that will help serve you and preventing the ogre from taking over because you're tired, right? The second thing is to see best intentions in people. So if you feel that ogre being unleashed, or you're feeling anger, ask yourself, do you want to be angry at the situation at this time, right? And sometimes that's enough, best intention for yourself, where it's like, no, like the kid forgot to pick up his book in the room, like being angry about this isn't really going to help get what I want, which is him to clean up after himself. So maybe I need to do some work to calm down. So setting that intention of like, is this where I want to be angry or not, can really help. And then expecting the best from others. So it keeps people out of that like social threat zone. So if like a person at the office said a snide remark in a meeting in front of your boss, right? The best intention there is like, well, maybe he's just trying to connect and be funny and not trying to make me look dumb, right? And if you handle that with grace, you'll actually end up looking better. So that's how you kind of set best intentions. More so for yourself, you can control that a lot more than for others. But if you're immediately thinking like, oh, that guy's out to get me, you're going to find out that anger response is triggered a lot more. The next point is to process, right? So do you want to feel angry at this time? Why are you triggered in this way? What do you need to communicate to prevent or mitigate this later? So it's just kind of doing the reflection of what's going on inside. Another thing to think of as you process it is there something else maybe you can do to distract yourself in the moment until you can get it figured out if you're not able to think because you're so worked up. So that kind of stuff. And then finally, the fifth thing to do, before we get to the fifth thing, we'll let you guys know that below where you're watching this video on the blog, there's a link to a free 6 Secrets of Success webinar where we go into high performance research. We go into the 6 essential habits all successful people have in common. And then, so we work through that. We help you create some new habits and high performance to help you live in your full life. So if you're like, hey, Sean, I don't have an anger problem, but I still want to advance in my career. I still want to feel happier and healthier. I still want to deepen relationships. There's something in this free video training that I have that can help you. So check out that link below, the 6 Secrets of Success. And so you put in your name and email, you get sent right to the page to watch a pre-recorded version of that training. So I love doing that. People really respond well to it. I hope you check it out. Okay. Number 5, the 5th thing to do to help manage our inner ogre and anger is to act, right? Sometimes if anger is appropriate, it's a call to action. It's a call to do the right thing and, protect your family from, being attacked, or it's, you have to do something at work. So you're going to use that energy to fuel, to finish your project when you're running on empty, or you're going to use that anger to change a situation so that it doesn't happen again, right? So if the action doesn't happen, the anger tends to repeat itself. So that's something I like to think about. So if you can do something to prevent that situation from happening, or from changing it, or to influence the environment so that things are better, you'll be less likely to trigger that inner ogre again. So I know kind of basic common sense stuff, but common sense is not common practice, as we know. So finally, I just want to say, we need to celebrate folks who manage their anger more successfully, because it shows maturity. It shows that you can channel it in a way that's productive, that's not going to mess up teams, it's not going to mess up projects, it's not going to burn relationships. And it just helps you treat people more kindly, If you don't have that thing always constantly welling inside, like the Hulk, where you're just ready to snap, you'll be a little bit more relaxed, you'll be a little bit more open to other people, and things will be great. So with that, I hope you liked this video. If you comment below or send a note to Sean, or support at SeanButner.com if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them for you guys. Manage your inner ogres, and I hope to see you guys soon. Take care.